Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to Season 3 of the Mercedes AMG Motorsport eRacing competition. We are halfway through our 9-round calendar. It's round 5, and today we head to Holland. Very good track in store, very good car in store. More on that later. My name is James Kirk. I'm joined, as usual, by Mr. Robert Wiesemuller. Rob, today we head to the Zandvoort circuit, one of the tightest and trickiest circuits on our calendar.
Hello everyone, hello James. Yes, it's Zandvoort. It's one of these true driver tracks. One of the tracks where there's no tarmac runoff area, where there's just very hard gravel sitting on the outside. When you leave the track, when you go too wide, your race could be over. And that makes it even more exciting in a close race here, and I'm pretty sure we will see it today in the Mercedes AMG Motorsport eRacing competition.
Indeed, no second chances here, and because the competition organisers are evil and we want to give our drivers as much of a challenge as possible, it's why we're switching up the car for the third time this season, or I should say the second time this season. We're going into the third car. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mercedes CLK from 2003.
Going in, when you went off, dumb brake spins. Oh, and we have cars colliding all over the place here. And Fessler hits Menu. Marcel Fessler hits Alain Menu coming out of the pits. We have cars going all over the place here. That was Apt and a Lazy who hit the wall.
From 2000 to 2003, I'll go on record as saying I think it's one of the most epic periods of the DTM. I mean, that epic tussle at the Norris Ring. How many times did people crash at the A1 ring in that period as well? Ultimately, this car, the base CLK, it started life, that successful life, in the year 2000. We're using its final incarnation from 2003. The phrase that I keep on hearing associated with it is raw power, and it's not hard to see why.
Yes, a truly spectacular car. A car that also had a facelift. You could see in the video in the years 2000 and 2001 they ran with the slightly different headlights here. We are running the 2003 configuration where Bernd Schneider defeated Christian Albers, his teammate, in a very exciting season. You could see the scenes there in front of the Mercedes Tribune at Hockenheim when they celebrated after the season. It was a very special year, and yeah, just like in 1995, Bernd Schneider was the real champion in the DTM.
It's a fantastic track car combo as well, because considering how much the likes of Schneider had to wrestle the car under its control, to be taking it round Zandvoort of all places, I mean, it's a challenge that any driver, real or virtual, would relish.
Yeah, for sure. And Zandvoort, of course, is a track which has always been on the DTM calendar. Maybe not in every year, but it's a true classic of DTM, and we are taking these true classic cars of DTM around the circuit.
I think it's time to be taking a look at who is going to be driving these wonderful machines, though, this very sunny afternoon. Plenty of names that I'm sure you're going to be recognizing there, of course, our new championship leader, Kevin Siggy-Rebenak, Jack Keithley, one of the most successful men in the sport, previous race winner Honzik. We've also got some new boys joining us, a couple of Italians by the names of Gianluca Balladini and Valentino Vivacqua. And for the first time, Rob, in this Season 3, which has seen an increasing presence from the Asian side of the e-racing community, we have the Merck's first ever Japanese driver, Yoshiki Harada. Well done for qualifying. It's great to see him here.
Yes, and it just shows how international this championship is becoming. I mean, back in the first year it was mainly German drivers who competed here, but now we have a Japanese, we've got 2 Indonesians, we've got a Brazilian, now a very strong force from Italy as well, maybe inspired by the great performance of Davide Toccacelli in the last race. And this man here, Yoshiki Harada, he's the first driver from Japan. He has to struggle a little bit with the ping, I presume, when he's racing against the other drivers, because of course they're all driving on the same server. But let's hope he can still do a good race. So maybe we should talk about what we've got coming up here. We're still in the practice session. We'll go straight into qualifying once the practice is over. 10-minute qualifying, then a 20-minute race, and then it's already over again. So you will not miss the World Cup final.
No, that's an important one. I think we strategically placing our live stream today to make sure that is not the case. I mean, for Jack Keithley, probably not as important given that England are out now. But he's got an interesting task ahead of him. It's been an up and down campaign so far this season, but boy oh boy has he come to Zandvoort with purpose. The fastest time in pre-qualifying, a 1:33.9. We have not seen a 33 all day today in the practice session, and you can see why he needs to really step on it. Only there in P4 in the championship. It's not terrible. I mean, he does have a 6-point gap over P5 Andre Santos, and that is the position in the championship which he needs to be, Rob. Of course, only 5 spots available from league play to be able to qualify for the live finale at the Hockenheim Ring. A lot of drivers actually below Andre Santos, not even taking part. Heinemann, Toccacelli, Zengaffinen, all not here today. So for Jack Keithley, a real opportunity for him to make up some points and to solidify his position.
And Tim Heinemann, that's an interesting one, because he won the Museum Special last weekend, live event in Stuttgart. So he's already qualified. Even though he's sitting here in 6th position, which would not be enough online, he's already qualified thanks to winning the Museum Special. So the first finalist is already set, so 5 more spots. Up for grabs, and Andre Santos on the hot seat at the moment. Toccacelli and Zengaffinen both not here today, but Alexander Dornin was really on the pace in practice as well.
Here, Tim Heinemann, of course, are 2 times Merck champion, beating the heat. Oh, it was a scorching day in Stuttgart, and held outside as well. A real test for the racers on all peripheries. He came through with flying colours, however, and now no longer really needs to worry about the rest of the season, and he can leave the rest of them to play it out. Let's focus a little bit on Kevin Siggy-Rebenak, actually, who had a real breakthrough round in round 4 of league play in the championship. Took his first pole position, he took his first win for the first time in his AMG eRacing competition career. He takes the lead of the championship. We've always known he's been a strong driver, Rob, But that in particular was a standout performance. And I guess from our side of things, we just hope that he's able to really push on now and continue to solidify himself as one of the best drivers in the championship. Because so far, even though we've seen a little bit more variance in who wins, who takes pole positions in Season 3, when you look at the stats, when you look at the history of the competition, it is still very much the Heinemann and Keithley show.
Yes, but this season, I mean, if we don't count Heinemann also winning in the museum, which was a bit different because not a lot of the regular drivers of this championship were there at the museum. Heinemann was the clear favorite going into that race. But if you just look at the online races, we had 4 different winners in 4 races, and Kevin Siegel-Rebernack finally is one of these winners. Yeah, on the other hand, Jack Keithley so far without a race win, Dorniden without a race win, Santos without a race win. So let's see, maybe we could even see a different winner here. Even though when we look at the top 4 at the moment, ooh, what a moment there by Rebernack. If you look at the top 4 at the moment, it's really Keithley this time who we should keep an eye out for.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair on the Dorniden point though, we know he is a super strong touring car driver. I mean, he's a touring car champion for goodness sake. Of course he's a good driver. But he's never really shone in this competition. He has not even picked up a podium. In fact, I think his strongest position was a P4 last year, I want to say.
It was definitely 4th in the final 2016.
Yeah.
So I think 4th is his best result. Where was he at the Norris ring? I think he was 4th as well.
He might very well have been just off the podium because he was in with a shout of that, wasn't he?
Yeah.
In fact, the podium was, I'm pretty sure it was Rebernack, followed by Maulana, followed by Toccacelli. Of course, He picked up his first podium last time out in league play. So maybe a chance to break through for Dorniden, certainly. And one of his German compatriot, Julian Kunze, dropped the ball massively at what's proving to be a real bogey track for him, the Norris ring. Loses the championship lead. After such a strong start to the season, he's going to want to bounce back now.
Yeah, for sure, but he's still in a good position in the championship, sitting in 3rd place at the moment. And remember, top 5 qualify, so you do not have to win the online championship. So Julian Kunze is still on course to qualify for his 3rd consecutive final. While we are still in the practice session here, maybe let's talk a little bit about the debutants. We already talked about Harada, but this is another one here, Gianluca Balladini, another Italian driver driving for the Ballas Racing team. And he's not the only one in that team. Valentino Bivacqua, his teammate, at the moment in the pit lane here in the car with the number 9. He also moved up onto the grid. A little bit lucky because a couple of drivers could not attend the race. So he just moved onto the grid last minute and filled a spot here. But they are debutants in this race. Ralf Pieringer, first appearance this season. He already drove in the last season and finished in the points at the Red Bull Ring. So that's the driver we should watch out for. And Ben Spunky and Vinny Oliveira are also both returning to the championship after they've driven in the first round only so far.
I think all of these... It's not even like these guys have not tried to qualify for the races as well. I think it's a real testament to how close that initial segment to a particular round is nowadays. That you have drivers, sometimes they'll be popping up into these races and scoring good points. Other days, they can't even qualify. I'm looking at Moritz Lerner as well. He was such a consistent point scorer last season, as was Jaroslav Honzik, of course.
Florian Hasse as well.
Florian Hasse, yeah, and this season they find themselves nowhere. I don't even think Florian Hasse's qualified. Actually, no, he qualified for the first round, didn't he? And then nowhere.
Yeah, it just shows it's really competitive. If you want to give it a try, make sure to click on the link in the description at YouTube or on Facebook. There's also a link to Race Room. You can download it for free. You can join the competition for free, and you can just try out how close you can get to these top times here of the top drivers. The qualifier for the next race is already open at the moment, so you can just try it out, try your luck, and maybe we'll see you in the next stream.
You get a nice long period to try and set your lap as well, because between rounds 5 and 6, roughly a month before the race, so you got 2-3 weeks to try and set your best lap. We'd be interested in seeing what you guys can do. Maybe you will appear on stream yourself after qualifying. Who knows? Maybe you'll have the speed. It's time for these drivers to put the speed down on the tarmac, though, Rob. Our practice session has ended. Jack Keithley ends it on top. He is looking like a very strong favourite to take pole position here today. And of course, actually with Tim Heinemann's domination of the museum special, whether you want to say as, wow, they're all streaming out of the pits immediately, eager to get a lap on the boards.
Collisions have been turned off in the pit lane to avoid cars blocking the pit spot if you're driving a race with the pit stop, of course. And these drivers are definitely taking a little bit advantage of it, as they all try to go out at the same time here. And I never understand that, because look at these cars. And that won't be a slipstream, they will just be blocking each other. Gone in here, right in the middle of them.
It's more akin to a race start than the start of qualifying. But yes, so with that pole position at the museum special, Heinemann equals Keithley on number of pole positions scored in the AMG eRacing competition. So I'm sure that Keithley will be rather eager to re-establish that dominance in the pole charts.
Guess who's the first car on track?
He knows how to make space for himself, and that's just to get out the pits as quickly as possible.
There's Keithley in front of Maulana, and I think the next car, that's either Oliveira or Bunky. Bunky, of course, the teammate of Jack Keithley in the ACR Zakspeed team, the virtual racing team of Zakspeed. They competed in the DTM for many, many years with real cars, and now they're in the e-racing competition as well. Continue the legacy.
And actually, Keithley and Maulana had a fabulous qualifying battle, if you remember, way back to the Lausitz ring. Ultimately, it was Maulana that picked Keithley that day. Now we're going to see if the roles can be reversed. Not so. Was that a lag moment? Oh,
I think there's a problem with the server at the moment. Just going to take a look real quick. What's happening there? The drivers are disconnecting.
It's not often that you see drivers falling through the floor. And I can guarantee you that Zandvoort is not a track famous for its quicksand. It's famous for its gravel, of course. To be fair, this is the first time that we've had any sort of technical issues, and I'm wondering, Rob, whether that might throw a couple of people off their groove a little bit, because you spend 30 minutes or so in that practice session learning your lines again, trying to find little extra bits to find even small hundredths to beat your opponents. And then something like this happens. It's a bit of a blinder.
And let's see if the server only crashed for us here, or if it actually crashed for the drivers as well. Because it seems like it was only for us in the spectator booth.
Which is good for the drivers then, because they don't have to worry about it. It's bad for us and the viewers, of course, because we can't see it.
But we should be able to get back in here.
Thankfully, there is 10 minutes of qualifying. It's not super pole or anything, so we will be able to go back in. And we'll take this opportunity, of course, to tell you, once the timer hits 0, that's their lap done. There's no, once you cross the line, if you cross it before the 0 second mark, you can go on and finish the lap. No. Once qualifying is over, it's over. There is no going after that. And I think the early times just coming in now, and it does seem like Jack Keithley has set the early pace of 1:34.3 as a car there, going into a wall there at the final corner at Arai.
And Jared, I think that was Pieringer who collided with the wall there. But as you can see, we are back. So
and look at that.
Avoided.
Oh, wow. I was going to say, it is a repeat of the Lausitz ring, Keithley versus Maulana, but Kevin Siggy Repenak, he's been saving a bit of pace as well. A 1:34.3 means that the top 3 are now separated by less than half a tenth.
Yes, and Repenak and Keithley, once again, these two experienced drivers at the front. But look at this guy here, Emre Cihan, with a very strong performance, currently in 6th position. And when the drivers were testing earlier today, he was one of the fastest drivers. So let's see if the Turkish driver can finally get into the points.
It's an interesting one, Cihan, isn't it? Because he was incredibly disappointed by his performance at the Norris ring. He thought he was going to be scoring points for sure. Certainly on the back of this qualifying performance so far, of course, there is still 5 minutes to go, so everything could change. I think the Turkish driver is really starting to find a bit of form, finally. I mean, we've heard so much about him. We've seen him in and out of points contention throughout the last season or so. Be nice to see him get up there. As Kunze is doing, he's just gone to the top with a 1:34.2.
You can always count on Julian Kunze. Nice lap by him, and yeah, the top, yeah, 3 of the most experienced drivers here locking out the top 3 at the moment. All been in the final last time. Dorniden up to 8th position, but he's behind Banki, Chihan and Santos, his big rival. So Dorniden, he will want to have a little bit more pace here in the qualifying session for sure.
Of course, Kunze, he took the first pole position of the year. He took the first win of the year, and he has not been on the top step since, which is to blame for his fall off the top of the championship. Here comes Jaka Siswoyo now, the second of the Indonesian contingent. Down in P18, he improves. P11, that is a very nice time indeed. Siswoyo was a little bit further back at the Norris ring, so it'd be good to see him fighting for points. Someone who's a bit far out of position, I noticed, with 4 minutes to go is Tim Yarshall, though, Rob. Down plumb last at the moment.
Actually go on board with him, but he just started his lap. So let's see what he can do here in the car of Bernd Mailänder. You know Bernd Mailänder, of course, as the safety car driver in Formula 1 for a very, very long time. He also raced in the DTM, and his virtual car is driven by Tim Yarshall now.
Just going down the order of last year's championship. Amory Sheehan has scored points before.
Oh.
He scored a singular point in the penultimate round of Season 2. So it's not that he's inexperienced, but of course, looking at where he is now, P6, that's a lot better. Actually, Ben's Bunky as well, with a really nice lap up in P7. Perhaps Dorniden, who was looking so strong in the practice session, Rob, maybe he needs to find something, because he's a little bit off the pace.
And looking at Yarshall here, he will definitely move up into the top 10 if he finishes this lap the way that he started it. And you can just see Bunky moving in 5th position ahead of Santos now. Oh, and that's a good time by Yarshall.
That's really nice through turn 13, the S as it's called, into the penultimate corner, turn 14, and then onto the final long right-hander over right. Onto the home straight now. Let's see where Tim Yarshall can place. Currently P10 in the championship. He moves up to P5 in qualifying. That is a much more competitive time.
Yeah, that was an amazing time. And look at the gaps, they're really close between the top 5. And Bunky in 6th position, dropping a little bit further back, but still great position for him. And we've got a guy who's purple at the moment, and that is Andika Rama Maulana. He almost loses it there though.
Of course, Maulana. He pipped Keithley in the race, I should say, not in qualifying.
Oh, pole!
This time he does, though, by 0.03 of a second, and Dika Rama Maulana is staring down the barrel of a potential first pole position this season.
Nice lap by Andika Rama Maulana, and it looked like when we switched to him that he was going completely sideways out of the penultimate corner, and then he still puts this lap here onto the tarmac and he takes the pole position away from Kunze. Let's see if anyone can still beat him. Kunze, he's purple as well in the first sector.
It's only going to be people crossing the line now to set their final laps. Anyone who crosses the line at this particular point is not going to be able to improve. That's, I think it's Reichel going up there into P11, but Kunze's purple in Sector 1. He's purple in Sector 2. The man has only won at the Hockenheim Ring in his AMG eRacing competition career. He's only taken a pole position at the Hockenheim Ring. This would be a huge statement if he's able to take pole position here at Circuit Park Zandvoort. He goes to the top almost by 1/10 of a second as well.
There's another one who's still out on track. That's Jack Keithley. Purple in the first sector. He was the fastest man in pre-qualifying. The only driver, I think, who broke into the 33s. And once again, he's on course. Maybe not for a 33, but he's on course for pole position. And just in case anyone's wondering, yes, we will be finished with this before the World Cup final starts. I saw some messages in the chat. First, we have to worry about Julian Kunze, if he can keep his pole position, because Jack Keithley coming out of the final corner now.
It's looking so good, isn't it? He's been lightning on this lap. And it shows in the times. A 1:33.9. He matches his pre-qualifying effort. And he takes his second pole position of the year by 0.2. That's huge in this competition.
And what a qualifying session it was. And it will be quite hard to overtake on this track. So let's see how crucial it will prove for Jack Keithley here.
Straight into the race then. 20 minutes of action coming up. Don't worry, we're nice and fast here in the AMG eRacing competition, both in terms of the broadcast and the drivers. Keithley re-establishing his qualifying dominance in the competition's history. That's his 8th pole position of his career. Here's the thing though, Robbie. Took pole position at the Lausitz ring, and he was beaten in the race. Could it yet happen again?
It could happen, and we've seen a lot of fantastic starts from Andika Rama Maulana so far. The car in 3rd position, the red and white one. We just saw the driver entry list, so you can spot who's in which car. Kunze in blue on the right side, and Keithley is not on the grid yet in the silver and white car. There he is on the pole position.
20 minutes of action ahead of us in the Netherlands. It's round 5 of the AMG eRacing competition, and we are go! Keithley off the line, not as well as Kunze though. Kunze straight into the lead of this race, and it was a poor start overall from Keithley. There's Maulana looking to move on the inside, not going to be able to make it into turn 1. Everyone jostling through there. Oh, a bit of a sideways moment for Alex Dorneyden there, though everyone has gotten through turn 1 all right. That's really good racecraft from all
someone's
involved.
off in the back of the
yeah,
Impact cars and one of the AMG cars, but at the front everything stayed clean.
Swoyo there was thrown out, and Bunky and Piringer looking to switch positions. It was a fantastic start from Julian Kunze though, who takes the lead from Jack Keithley. Maulana, Tim Yarshall has jumped Kevin Sigi-Rebenak as well. Santos up to 6. Emre Sheehan with a poor start. He's down to P10, and Reichel right down to the rear of the field as well. Back up to the front then. Jack Keithley, he is not going to be happy with that whatsoever. He did not.
Oh, Yarshall in the grass.
Oh, and Yarshall, I don't know whether he was pushed out wide, but either way, he's down from P5 to outside the points. A real shame there for the young German who's back on in P13. We've got to go back up, though, to Jack Keithley, who's now on the inside of Kunze. He's going to be on the outside as we head into the S, though. A little bit of late braking, going to try and make it around the outside. No, Kunze takes a very tight line indeed. Keithley almost pushing Kunze around. And look at him now, all over the rear. This is allowing Maulana into the battle as well. The gap that these three have over Santos in 4th is pretty ridiculous, and you can see how much pressure Kunze is in this opening stage of the race. It's non-stop action here at Circuit Zandvoort, and at the end of lap 1, it's Kunze from Keithley, Maulana, Santos, Rebenak, Dorneyden, Bunky, Piringer, Sheehan and Honzik rounding out the top 10. Here goes Keithley around the outside of Kunze now, first corner. It's not going to happen on this lap though, Rob.
Oh, and it's so close between these drivers. They are not taking any caution in the beginning of the race. And despite the battle, these top 3 are looking like they can gap the field a little bit.
2 seconds clear of Santos already in 4th. But, of course, as these drivers battle, it might allow everyone back in. Tim Yarshall actually up to 11th already, so the one of the youngest men on this grid, of course, could yet find himself back in the points. As here they come now, round turn 9.
That was the corner. Sorry to interrupt you, but that was the corner where Tim Yarshall lost his car, and that's the corner where Gary Paffett famously lost his car in the DTM a couple of years ago in a Mercedes. And it can happen so quickly. Oh, Dorneyden on the inside of Rebenak there in the background. Let's jump to them.
The battle for P5 and P6. Rebenak really struggling actually so far in this race. You can see that Santos has been able to run away from the pack. Dorneyden looking on the outside of the S. Sigi-Rebenak covers the line well. Dorneyden's got to be careful because he's got Bunky, Piringer, Sheehan, Honzik, all in close pursuit as well. It's very much the point scorers have just been able to break away from everyone behind, though. I go back to this point, Rob. Do not underestimate how much battling slows you down. Tim Yarshall there in P11. In the next 3-4 minutes, he could be right onto the back of this train himself again.
Yes, and you could see in the foreground Kunze using some tactics there to break the slipstream of Keithley. Just weaving from one side to another. He's definitely trying to get a gap here. Maybe to put Keithley into a battle with Maulana, because they've crashed already 2 times this season.
It's still as close as it was. This reminds me a lot, Rob, of the situation last year at the Red Bull Ring, where we had Honzik, and Rebenak following Heinemann and Keithley. To be fair, we saw that sort of situation for a couple of races last season. Maulana's biding his time, and it's not hard to see why as well. We know how aggressive in a driver Keithley is. To be fair, these two and Maulana, as Yarshall's off again at the same corner.
Same corner, yeah.
He must not have that line right, because that's the second, that's an identical mistake that he made to last time. But those top three, they know they're in a great position in the championship. Santos is probably the one who's going to be the most worried, but in P4, he finds himself in a very good land.
Yes, ahead of Dorniden, ahead of Honsick as well, so ahead of all the people that he needs to be ahead.
It'll be Yarshall.
Yeah, Yarshall as well. Maybe he would want to be ahead of Keithley, but that's difficult on this track, of course. Here you can see Kunze once again, a little bit naughty.
Double
but, yeah, but you could say, I mean, Keithley is not really directly behind him. I mean, it's in the grey area.
Not grey is the passage of time. Only 5 minutes have gone by. I feel like I've commentated for 7 already. It's been that cutthroat, the action. You're in Jack Keithley's position, Rob. You've potentially got the pace to wipe the floor with this field, but you've suffered a bad start. Much like Maulana, although it seems like Maulana's really starting to fall away now. Does he bide his time, or does he get the move done as quickly as possible so he can pull out a gap?
I've never seen Jack Keithley waiting for a move.
I'd agree with you, but I'm posing the question. I'm trying to be devil's advocate here.
Maybe he should wait. I don't think he needs to. He needs to pass Kunze for the win, but I don't think he will wait.
Of course, it'd be nice. He's behind Kunze in the championship still. What is the gap between the two, actually? 22 points. So it'd be nice to drag Kunze back, I guess, but I'm looking at those top three, Rob, Rebenak, Maulana and Kunze. As long as they're consistently scoring top 6 points for the final 4-5 rounds of this championship, I mean, surely they'll be okay to the end.
Yeah, but you can see how fast it can happen. There's just one mistake, like with Yarshall, and he's completely out of contention for scoring points. Kunze once again trying this tactic here. I think Keithley will not be impressed.
I think, unfortunately, we do have a rare retirement in the MERC. Yoshiki Harada out of the race. Might be ping related, might have been crash related. A real shame there for our first ever Japanese driver. But going back to the battle now with Kevin Sigi-Rebenak, he's been able to catch up to Andre Santos, and he's dragging Dorniden along for company.
Yes, and Santos doesn't seem to have quite the same pace as Keithley and Kunze in front. We have to go there because Keithley is really close.
He's been really close for the last, I don't know, entirety of the race.
Yes, but now he's right in the diffuser of the car of Kunze there.
Where would be the best places to overtake though, Rob? I'm guessing the S would probably be a decent place, but apart from that one...
I mean, you could try it in turn 1, you could try it in the corner that they just came out of if the driver isn't careful and doesn't cover the inside completely. And you could try it here. People who watched the DTM, they will remember the the awesome battle between Christian Abt and Uwe Alzen, who drove for AMG in 2001 in almost this car that they race here. So you can certainly pass in this car on Zandvoort. They've proven it in reality, so it should be possible in the virtual version as well.
It's usually the other way around, isn't it? Oh, you can't overtake them in real life. Let me show you why virtual racing is so good. And again, Kunze moving twice to try and lose slipstream. Jack Keithley's had enough of that. He's going to stick on the outside. He's going to have a slightly better line on exit. But this is where the problem lies with Circuit Park Zandvoort. Once you go into this first sector after turn 1, it's very difficult to follow the car, as it is difficult to follow the car through the final couple of corners to even have an attempt to slipstream on the back straight. Proving, case in point, Rob, why it's going to be a very tall order for Jack Keithley to overtake one of the most consistent men in this championship.
But I think it's not over yet. We've got still over half of the race distance to go, and Keithley has always been one of the best drivers on his tires. And
despite his aggressive nature.
Kunze certainly isn't bad either. There are other drivers like Heinemann who sometimes very fast in the beginning of the race and then struggling towards the end. Same can't be said for Kunze, but still Keithley, so far what I've seen, he's the best driver on his tires in this championship.
He's all over. He's almost like a fighter pilot trying to find the best angle of attack on his opponent. But so far, Kunze is flying the defensive formations. Some of them a little bit unorthodox, perhaps. Whether you want to agree or disagree with the rules is to your discretion. And, of course, to the discretion of the stewards, who will be looking at everything, I'm sure. But here, on track, the one thing Jack can do is trying to overtake him naturally. That's looking a lot closer than usual, isn't it? We were on board here with Maulana.
I think that was a mistake by Kunze. But Keithley once again only gets the outside. Let's see if Kunze can make it stop, and he does. So once again, no real opportunity for Jack Keithley to take the lead.
It's a weird one, turn one, isn't it? Because you look at someone as Shihan there going past Piringer. I imagine that's probably into turn one. Yeah, the Turkish driver moving up into P8 there. But it's a weird one, isn't it? Because even if you're on the inside, Rob, if you're able to slow the car down enough, you get the slingshot out and you completely negate any sort of more optimal line that guys behind you might be taking if they were to go from the outside in.
Yeah, that's true, but it's just such a corner where it's just hard because there's also a camber on the corner. It's just really hard to get a line where you can take all the power out of the corner and really get a good exit.
Kind of similar to the carousel in a way from the Nordschleife?
Well, not quite as extreme, but a little bit, yeah. Oh, Dorniden very close there as well. The back of Revanak, who's still stuck behind Santos. And yes. We were just watching Chihan, Piringer and Banki, who are all doing a great race here, all comfortably in the points.
Yeah, Honzik rounding out said points. He's 4 seconds ahead of his compatriot Lucas Bouron. Been a rather underwhelming campaign for the winner, of course, at the Red Bull Ring, taking advantage of a crash between Keithley and Heinemann to secure that. He's been nowhere near race-winning pace, and I'm sure a point actually will be pretty good.
Go back to the front
yeah, it's hard to look away, isn't it? Because Jack Keithley, he always looks like he's going to try for a move. But to be fair, Kunze has had all of the answers to his exam.
Look at Maulana, look how close he's been getting. And I think we should go to the car of Santos real quick here, because he made a slight mistake coming out of the first corner. That really allowed Revanak to catch up with him.
How much is the dirty air going to be affecting the tyres of these cars, Rob? Especially given how long a lot of these cars have been behind some of their rivals.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, but it's not as bad as in, let's say, Formula 1.
Slightly wide line from Santos.
Look at the wheel movements there from Revanak.
And he's having a little look up the inside of turn 9. Is he going to throw it up the inside of turn 10? Yes, he is. He brakes very deep up. Slight contact on exit. Now the corner starts to reel back in itself as we head into turn 11. And that was a beautifully executed move from Kevin Revanak. He's got to be careful though. Andrek Santos now on the side of the S. He's got a bit more speed actually.
Oh,
on
3 wide.
Watch out for Dorniden on the inside as well. Dorniden pulls in, and that is a beautiful move from Kevin Revanak.
Dorniden almost loses it there on the power as he's trying to capitalize, but that was a clean move by Revanak and also well played by André Santos, who accepts that he's going to lose the position, and he does his best to keep his 5th place against Dorniden now.
And back up at the front, here goes Keithley once again for the umpteenth time on Julian Kunze. Kunze taking a very defensive line, and Jack Keithley, he tried to slip it under Kunze, but he covered Apex very well indeed. We are now the better part of 7 minutes left of this race, Rob. Time starting to run out for Jack.
Yes, and there are also battles further back. This is Boyo here trying around the outside against Bouron. This is for 11th place, but it could be a place in the points if one car just drops out of it. And look how close Keithley and Kunze are for the entire race now. And Maulana also sitting behind them, just waiting for a mistake.
Four-wheel drifting round turn 8 there was Jack Keithley. And he's gone for the move now!
Oh, Kunze mistake by Kunze there! And
he's just fun! I can't believe... It seemed like he'd saved it, but he didn't. And what that means is Jack Keithley is now through, able to avoid the spinning Kunze. Maulana unable to capitalise, and you will say, Rob, that for 13 minutes that has been coming, as Dorneyden now looking to make his way past Santos as well. Santos into the S, he's got the defensive line.
Oh,
Dorneyden breaks
Dorneyden!
late, and he misses the corner completely. He goes off track, and he's going to cut across the S completely now, trying not to lose too much time. As, who's that
Sheehan has
round?
spun.
It's Sheehan, and out the points he goes. So how many positions did he lose there? Bunky through, Piringer through, Honzik through. Dorneyden to 9th, Sheehan to 10th. The biggest benefactor there, of course, Ben Spunky.
And now the tires are really starting to come into play, and it seems like some drivers underestimated it. Maybe went for a little bit too aggressive setup, and now they're really struggling for the grip here on the rear. And Kunze, with the mistake that doesn't happen too often, but it did happen at the Norris ring already. So, loses the lead, only loses the lead though. Still manages to stay ahead of Maulana, and he's still in contention, but look at how sideways Kunze's car is.
It is hard to believe that I'm saying this, but out of these 3 drivers, the only man who has not scored a win this season is Jack Keithley, a man with 5 wins to his name from last season alone. He won half of the championship rounds. Incredible, isn't it?
And you can just see Kunze, sorry to interrupt again, but you can see
go for it.
the car of Kunze, and he has definitely some handling issues. Maybe it was the contact there after he spun because he got a little bit collected, but his car is moving around a lot.
It's looking more likely that Maulana's going to be overtaking him for second than Kunze fighting back to take the lead himself, isn't it?
Yeah, at this point, yes.
Into the S then we go, 4.5 minutes remaining on the clock. So probably looking at maybe 2 more laps, 3 more laps until the end. Keithley leads by 0.6 of a second. Under a second back is 3rd place Maulana. Then you have Rebenak, Santos, Banki, Piringer, Honzik, Dorneyden, Sheehan rounding out the points. As we head onto the main straight once again. Looking at Dorneyden here, P9. A terrible mistake to make into the S, but showing his speed already, hounding the back of Yaroslav Honzik onto the main straight. Closes in the slipstream, pulls out, and he brakes late as well. It's the old adage once again. Alex Dorneyden, he gains 7/10 under braking, and that was a beautiful move to make his way back up into P8.
Yes, he does the best now in the remaining, in the remainder of this race. And I think Piringer will have a hard time defending against Dorneyden as well. Probably a little bit angry after his mistake. Certainly his own mistake was to brake on the grass. But if he can recover to 7th position, then that's pretty good considering he was 6th before.
And ultimately for Dorneyden, it is more points at least. The bad news for him is that everyone ahead of him in the championship is scoring more. It's starting much like this race actually, where we've seen just groups of cars pull away from all of their competition. Is very much reflecting the same in the championship.
Yes, because it's all the drivers who are in the top 5 in the championship, also in the top 5 in this race.
How lovely, and it's not totally symmetrical, of course, we understand that, but it is showing that we're starting to find a real class.
Oh, Dorneyden!
Honzik is back.
Dorneyden made a mistake once again, just as we jumped away.
Same corner.
Unbelievable. Now here the battle between Bivakva and Yarshall, and Yarshall has been off as well. What is happening there?
He's had a nightmare race, Tim Yarshall.
He's getting passed by Oliveira there, and Bivakva has a lot of problems as well. I think a lot of drivers went really, really aggressive with their setups here, and now they're struggling for rear tires.
You can see Yarshall going back through on Oliveira, and then Oliveira going back through on Yarshall. It's switching and changing so much. I was not expecting the tires to be that much of an issue. It was going around the outside. It's Tim Yarshall.
And there's once again.
That's this Woyo off. So, I cannot believe how many mistakes we're seeing from these drivers. It's uncharacteristic of this competition.
Yeah, that really came as a surprise here.
The man who's not making the mistakes, though, is Jack Keithley. And maybe this good tyre conversation, conservation, I should say, rather. It's a good tyre conversation, of course, but it's
I think we just lost a connection to James as well. Apologies for that. We have a little bit of connection issues here in the commentary booth for this race. But yeah, I'm sure he was going to say the tires of Jack Keighley, they're still looking relatively fine compared to the tires of all the other cars. And you can see Kunze once again sliding a little bit there on the exit. Further back, Bivakwa also lost the position once again to Oliveira. So a lot of people in the midfield are having extreme tire issues here on this track, and that can happen if you set up your car too aggressively. But either way, it's going to be the final lap now. And Jack Keighley, even despite his better tire wear, he hasn't really been able to get rid of Kunze and Maulana behind him, as James is back apparently.
Yes, I am. I was trying to do a little... it was weird. They've been having troubles with the tyres. I've had troubles with the connections. It's a bizarre round for all. For Maulana, it's been a very composed affair, but he's never really looked like touching second or first place. It's all been about the men in front of them, as we're seeing them now. Kunze v Keighley, the battle of the Ks. Not much time now for Jack Keighley to try and fend off the German. It's been such a good race from him, Rob. We saw composure as he goes Maulana down the inside of turn 10. He's tried it. Finally trying to strike to secure more points. Going to the inside of turn 11 now as well. And oh, Kunze, was that a punt?
I think he tapped Kunze there a little bit. Either way, he takes the second position. It's hard to say because Kunze's tires, they have been so worn. So maybe the slightest of taps was enough here.
One for the stewards to look out for, but we're into the final sector now. He's won 5 races in his career. He's taken 2 pole positions this season. It is incredible to think that this is going to be his first race win of the season at round 5 of 9. But it's come at last. Jack Keighley takes victory at Circuit Park Zandvoort. Maulana, on track at least, takes home P2 with Kunze rounding out the podium. Last time in the league play, of course, the race winner for Norris Ring, Kevin Seeger-Rebenak, takes P4 just ahead of Andre Santos, meaning that the top 5 in the championship finish in the top 5 in the race, all securing really, really crucial points for themselves. Bunky, great race, actually, for the Slovakian P6, with Ralph Piringer taking home P7. Jaroslav Honzik, disappointing in the context of his career, but actually decent points there in P8. Dorniden, what could have been again P9, and Emery Sheehan picking up a point for this season down there in P10. Disappointing for Tim Yarshall. 2 DNFs, Michael Rachel and Michael Rachel, and Harada, of course, our first ever Japanese driver. But for Jack Keighley, though, Rob, that was a win that he needed to take.
Yes, congratulations to Jack. Great performance. He resisted the pressure of Kunze. Then Kunze made a mistake. Maulana in second, but contact once again. And Maulana, he's been penalized already this season for contact. So let's see what the stewards will decide after that. But either way, it's certainly a very spectacular race. Dorniden and Sheehan still in the top 10 despite their mistakes. Keeps Dorniden in contention for this top 5 position at the end of the championship.
The thing was, if Maulana is found to be guilty, I'm guessing it would be a similar points penalty as opposed to losing his podium.
Yes, it will be, but it would be a double points penalty because he already has been in incidents. And if you score 25 penalty points, you will pick up a race ban in this championship. Tim Heinemann fell victim of that last year. And yeah, currently sitting at 10. So double penalty would give him 20, and then he really has no wiggle room. And if you score 40 penalty points, that's it. You're out of the championship. You won't get an invite for the final, which will take place, of course, in Hockenheim at the end of the year.
Still, of course, 4 rounds to go. And next time, Rob, we actually travel to my home circuit in the most literal of senses. It's the closest circuit to my house. It's Brands Hatch, and we're going to be running the classic Indy circuit. Of course, Brands Hatch back on the DTM calendar for the first time since 2013, I want to say. They're running the Grand Prix circuit. We're going to be taking them around the Indy circuit. Fast, furious, sub 1 minute times, probably.
Yes, for sure. It will be in the, I think, around 45s on the Indy circuit. We've got Monza coming up, Nürburgring and the Red Bull Ring. And then it's already over once again for the Mercedes AMG Motorsport eRacing competition, at least the online part. But yeah, we've got a little bit of time before the next race, so you should definitely download Race Room and try it out yourself, how fast you can go in these classic Mercedes DTM cars.
And of course, if you're interested in just being a spectator, then mark your calendars for roughly a month's time. We're back on the 12th of August. It's going to be the final appearance of the CLK from 2003. It's at Brands Hatch. It's sure to be a fantastic event once again. Now, go enjoy your World Cup. We're all done here. A big thank you to the drivers for another fantastic broadcast. It was great to commentate on. Thank you so much to Rob Wiesenmuller as well, my co-commentator. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.